Here's another type of problem we could have that we can use the distributive property to simplify. And I know I can use the distributive property because I have a number right next to the parentheses, it's touching it. When a number or variable is touching the end of a parenthesis, the outside of it like this, that means multiply. So this number next to this parenthesis means that I'm multiplying this 6 times everything inside, x minus 5. Then on the outside, we have 2x minus. I'm not multiplying this 2x by anything. The 2x is not touching any parentheses, so it's not multiplying by anything. So I'm just going to leave it as it is. So 2x, then minus, and this minus is subtracting this whole problem here of the distributive property. So now with the distributive property, I will use that to simplify this here. So outside times inside, 6 times x. Now the important thing to note is that we have two subtraction symbols here. This subtraction symbol is not just saying minus 6. All of this is together in one group. We're multiplying it, and multiplication comes before subtraction. So all of this here needs to stay together. So I'm subtracting all of this together as one group. So everything I do in this section here needs to be subtracted because I'm subtracting everything. So since I'm subtracting everything, I subtract this first multiplication, and then I'm also going to subtract the next multiplication. So subtract the next one, which is, you'll notice I also have another minus sign in here, so I need to write a minus sign again. So we're going to have two subtractions here, subtracting here and subtracting here for this multiplication problem. I'm doing minus 6 and minus 5. So then I do 6 times 5, and then now we simplify. So we're going to keep the 2x, we're not doing anything with that yet. 6 times x, that's 6x, minus 6 times 5, 30. So then I'm going to look to see this minus. I can change that to addition to make it a little bit easier to work with. So instead of minus, I can make it plus. So then I have 2x minus 6x plus 30. Now I can combine the two terms with an x. So if I have two x's and I take away 6 x's, so 2 minus 6 is what I'm doing here. So I'm going to change this to an addition problem. 2 plus, and then instead of positive 6, I make it negative 6. Then I could draw pictures here to help me solve. And I'm left with 4 negatives. So negative 4x plus 30. I have x's and no x's, so I do not combine them. And this would be my final answer. Here's an example problem similar to what you would find on your homework. So how we're going to go about this problem is the number or whatever is right next to the parentheses. With the parentheses, you'll keep as a group, and then everything else we'll keep separately. So this negative 5, we're multiplying it by this here, the parentheses. We're not multiplying it by the x. In fact, we're doing minus x, so we're not multiplying anything by x. So first I'll start off with the distributive property, outside times inside, negative 5 times x, minus, outside times inside, I'll put that in parentheses to make it easier to see, negative 5 times 4, and then, so I did my distributive property, and then I just keep my minus x. Now I'm going to simplify, negative 5x minus negative 5 times 4, negative 20 minus x. I can change that to addition to make it a little bit easier to work with, to make it plus, so plus 20 minus x. So if I have negative 5x's and I subtract another x, negative 5, and I'm subtracting 1, negative 5 minus 1, that's the same as doing negative 5 plus negative 1, so negative 6x's plus 20, then I have x's, constants, no x's, so I cannot combine them, and this would be my final answer. Here's another problem that you could find on your homework. So on this, the 3x is totally separate from the distributive property. The distributive property works if you have something on the outside right next to things in parentheses that we add or subtract. So this we're going to use the distributive property for, and this we aren't multiplying anything by this. So we keep the 3x, then this I'm going to put all together as a group. So I'm subtracting all of this. So I'm going to subtract first, outside times inside, 4 times x, and then I also need to subtract the next thing because all of this is being subtracted. So this first one is being subtracted, and now the second multiplication, it's also still being subtracted. Since all of this is subtracted, I still need to write my subtraction. Then I have 4 times here, positive 2. So 4 times 2. I need to pay attention to the symbol that comes before it here. So then, let's combine anything that we can. So 3x minus 4x minus 4 times 2 is 8. Then I have 2 terms with x, so I can combine those. 3x's minus 4x's. 3 minus 4, that would be the same as negative 1x minus 8. So then I have a term with an x, a term without an x, so I cannot combine them. So this would be my final answer. So on this, when you're subtracting, just be careful that you subtract both of your multiplications, since all of this is being subtracted. X, and then we're subtracting all of this. So first, I'm going to use the distributive property. So even though the 5 is on this side, it's still on the outside of the parentheses, and I still multiply it by everything inside. So outside times inside, so I'm doing minus 5 times 4, and then minus again because I'm subtracting all of this, then outside times inside, and here I have in minus x. So I have 5 times minus x. Now I will simplify. 6x minus 5 times 4, 20. 5 times negative x, negative 5x. So I can make this addition, plus 5x. Then I'll combine 6x's minus 20 plus 5x's. So I can rearrange it like this. So my x's are next to each other. It makes it a little easier to see. 6x's plus 5x's, 11x minus 20. X's, no x's. I can't combine them, so that's my final answer.